There we go. What's up, good people? Happy Sunday to you. Word up from Minneapolis, says Dan. What's up, Dan? Yeah, we're the crew that stands in line an hour before the concert. That's funny. Let's put on these ones today. Oh, I gotta clean those up a little bit. Let's see. Who else we got here? Laurel Davis. We got Lauren in the house. Nice to see all you guys. Got back late last night. There was like an incident on the plane on the way back, a minor incident. This lady who was getting on the plane, she, I guess there was like a frayed piece of carpet or something. I was flying back from my clinic and stuff, which is in Pittsburgh. So I flew Pittsburgh to Washington, Dulles, and then Dulles to LA. And so this is the Dulles flight. And this lady was like getting on the plane and she made a big commotion because I guess she almost tripped on this piece of frayed carpet or something. So that ended up delaying the plane about an hour and 15 minutes or something. Leaving, and we weren't leaving until 10:15 p.m. So we'd left at like 11:45. So long story short, I got back at, I don't know, like 1:45 a.m. or something. So I'm a little out of it, but I blasted home, got 6 hours of sleep, and now here I am. What's up? Like, when that stuff happens on planes, they got to do all this like paperwork, and like they literally taped it down with a piece of, aircraft tape or something. The carpet, the frayed carpet. And then they had to get paperwork, like maintenance paperwork. And that's what they waited an hour for. So anyways, that's that story. Trying to brew the bean broth, said Mute That Bozo right out of the gate. Yeah, I made a little cup here of Keurig situations. Oh man, how am I enjoying the new patch for the aux? Is there one? That's from Braxall. See, I learned things from you guys all. I was thinking about before I got here how I learned things from you guys all the time. What's the new patch for the aux? Let me look so I can see. Universal Audio. It's uaudio.com, isn't it? uaudio.com. I want to know who's got an aux out there. I want to know what's going on with it. Where would I go for that? Downloads, probably, right? UAD software. I don't see anything here yet, but it's probably in a different part of the world. UAD plugins, analog hardware. Is it under? Oh yeah, aux amp top box. We're gonna go there. Okay. Still don't see anything about new software. Oh, there's a picture of me. Download box. I don't see anything about it. Where do I find? Oh, there we go. aux version 1.2. What do we got? It's a Rabia video, but I don't know what. Yeah. I saw that Rabia had something coming out from them. He works closely with them. But yeah, I don't know anything about it. Somebody tell me what's new. Braxall, let us know what's new. Donnie Fisk, top chat. Thanks, man. He says, thanks for the info on the Super Reverb. You bet. Those are nice glasses. These are my crazy glasses from Japan that I got. Two nice reading glasses. Why would the idiot delay her own flight? Says Ian. It's weird. It's like she was a strange lady. There's a few other things I won't get into, but one of the other things she did, I ended up sitting beside her. Of course, she was nice enough, but she was. We spoke for a little while about some interesting things and stuff. But she also, when I was taking my coat off, what got us talking was I was taking my coat off. I had my water bottle sitting on the seat, and she was sitting in the middle seat, and I was in the aisle. So I'm taking my stuff off and getting situated with the bags ahead, and she's like, "Something just hit me in the head." And I was like, when I took my coat off, did I like whack her in the head or something? But I'm like, I don't think so. She was like far enough away that I don't think that could have been the case. And she was making like kind of a big scene. I was like, are you okay? I said, I really don't think so. I would have seen that happen. But I was like very nice. And she's like, oh, you're so nice. Where are you from? I'm from Canada. Oh, that's why you're so nice. It was one of those conversations. Anyways, feel bad talking about her. She was nice enough. But anyway, then the flight attendant was right there, and she said, went back to the bathroom at one point, and the flight attendant said, "I'm glad you were there and I was there," and I saw that because she started doing that thing with the something hit her in the head, and I didn't see anything, you didn't see anything, and then she was the same one that said, the carpet in the front, and I guess she made I don't know what she said, but it was kind of like this, I could trip and fall and hurt, it was almost like borderline litigious. Then I found out that she was a lawyer. She was a civil, basically like civil suit kind of lawyer. It's a little fishy, looking for something to make commotion over. But anyways, what else have we got here? I have an aux. So I want to know what's going on with the aux. Let's get it out there. It's firmware, new firmware, but I want to know what it does. Favorite UAD plugin. I've got so many UAD plugins that I love. And there's a new plugin from, specifically about UAD. There's a new plugin from Bob Clearmountain. I don't know if you guys saw on my Instagram, but I got a video coming out with Bob Clearmountain where he let me come over and mix a song with him and actually take a 2-mix out of the console and record into Logic what he was doing, so it's like a kind of live mixing video, and he's mixing a song of mine. It's so exciting. But anyways, blah 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 blah. Anyway, he's got a plugin that he shows us in that video called Clear Mountain's Domain, and I had no idea, but it's all about his effects routing. He's got a very unique way of routing effects like reverbs and chambers and delay, de-essing, which I didn't know anything about, and he demonstrates it in the video where he de-esses going into the delay, so you can turn up the delay louder when there's no S's and pops and things because it doesn't poke through as much. Because I always wondered how he got his mixes to sound wet but not washed out. So he kind of shows us that. It's a really great video if you're into production at all. Anyways, so that's coming. Anyway, his plugin basically replicates that whole chain that he does with this. So if you're into mixing, it seems like a no-brainer because those great. They've gone and modeled all his like the impulse responses and stuff of the chambers that he likes to use. Some cool spaces and stuff for doing reverbs and so that's all in there. And he says they're amazing. Like you can't tell the difference between his real chambers and stuff and what they put in the plugin. So sounds really great. Basically the chain that he's developed for mixing everything from, Bruce Springsteen to Rolling Stones to, Roxy Music to David Bowie and everything else that he's done, Bryan Adams. So exciting for budding producers. Favorite UAD plugin. I like Ocean Way Studios a lot, which is kind of the way the lights are right now makes my eyes look crazy with these glasses. I love the Ocean Way Studios plugin. Of course, the PT100 plugin. That could be a trick question because that's a UAD plugin that they did with Brainworks. It's really great. I love the SSL bus compressor. Millennia, the Millennia stereo EQ is great on master bus or on anything that you need a real smooth, gradual kind of, overall sort of mastering EQ. It's really terrific. All the guitar stuff is really fun. I mean, even the Big Muff, the Rat, the B15 is great for bass. The B15 plugin rules. God, it sounds good on bass. It's really, you just plug it in and it sounds luxurious right from the get-go. Really nice. Somebody's asking about, and then I'm going to look again and see if there's any news on this aux update that I haven't checked out yet. Is it useful to use an attenuator for a master volume amp? I have a Vox AC30 CC2X. Love your playing. Yeah, it would. Thank you, by the way. I would think it would be, especially with an amp like that, because an AC30 relies so much on the output section kind of clipping and doing its thing. Like the tone of an AC30 is really all about cranking it into the sweet spot. I really have to do that AC30 amps in the zone video. I just wish I had more time in my life. I would do that this week because I've got a nice AC30 here I can do it with. Maybe I'll try and knock it out and just make it like, it's not really that complicated. There's basically like one sound that is, I mean, you could do I could show the Brian May thing, but I already kind of did that in the treble booster video. So I should do an AC30 top boost amps in the zone video where it's just the top boost channel, turning the EQ, turning up the amp, getting it right into the sweet spot on maybe 2 different guitars. And wouldn't that be enough, I think, for a video? It probably wouldn't take me that long. But the magic of an AC30 is getting it into that space. And if you use the master volume on your CC Custom Classic or whatever they called them amp, it's going to kind of mess with that. I find the masters on the Vox puts on their amps, they don't. It's a Vox isn't about the preamp; it's about the whole amp working right. So using something like a good attenuator, it's got to be really good though. And they all change the sound a little bit. Like probably the best just pure attenuation device I ever used was the Iron Man that I did recently. The old Faustine was great too. Not really a big fan of passive attenuators though, to be honest. But the Tone King one, the Iron Man 2, is really quite good. And you can hear that in the video I made for it. It just sounds it just changes the sound a little bit. So let's see here. Anybody else? Did Raxall chime back in about the aux? I didn't see if anybody's mentioned what the new thing is yet with the software. Okay. Looking for scanning the chat here because I'm interested. I really want to know. Oh, there we go. aux 1.2 has V30, JBL, greenback 30s. You can assign 3 effects to a foot switch. Okay, so they've done a little bit of stuff for like live use. That's interesting. And great that they finally put a V30 cab in there. So now I've got to update. I've been away this week and I was traveling all week and stuff, and I just didn't have time to actually look at anything that was going on. That's great to know though about the aux. I will update mine, and they've asked me to do some more stuff with them. You know, some working, with them. I think Rabia is like right in there with them, so he's obviously their first call guy for specifically for UAD stuff. But I talk to a guy there all the time, and maybe they'll want me to do a video or something for this 1.2 update. I don't know. We'll see. They're a co-sponsor of my clinics. They did the whole European run, and because I am using a UA Apollo Twin Mark II. For the clinic and stuff like that. So they're co-sponsor of my clinic. How do I teach a guitar student to get out of the pentatonic box? I've got a video on that. Sound like Elizabeth Warren. I've got a plan for that. I've got a video for that. There's a video that I did called Break Out of the Box or something like that. And it's one of my 5-minute videos that I did years ago. And it shows specifically what you're asking. So yeah, check that out on my lessons channel. That was Pinky Muscle asking that. But that video would be a great place to start. It just shows moving through some different positions and stuff like that, and how to kind of get that going. Still largely kind of pentatonic based, but actually just moving through different positions. Basically there's 5 different places to play the pentatonic scale in any one key up the neck, be it major or minor, and just learning those is really helpful too. Watching somebody that plays outside of the box, like B.B. King, for example. Is a great example, and just learning a few of their simple licks, because BB plays very simple. It's not easy because he's so soulful and has this great, amazing phrasing and stuff like that. But his licks aren't hard to comprehend what he's doing. And if you play some of the stuff that he, go over some of his tunes, that would be a great way to break out of the standard sort of, whatever. If you're in a 5th position pentatonic box, learn some of his tunes. Maybe would be a great introduction, I would think. Even like the Stairway to Heaven solo is a great example of, it's got some notes that are outside of the pentatonic. Obviously, it's a sort of natural minor sound, I guess, but it is a great, starts off in the 5th position, a pentatonic box, but then moves around a little bit and starts moving up the neck and stuff like that. And it's, when I think about Angus Young, like solo that I've used in many examples as well in a similar way would be You Shook Me All Night Long solo, and starts in G in the box, 3rd position G pentatonic, and then starts moving up the neck and goes between major and minor pentatonic sounds. Some of those sort of licks where he's moving up the neck and doing things before he gets back up into the 3rd or /15th position, 1 octave up box would be a great thing for a student to learn and kind of tackle. Um, yeah. Any new guitars? Nothing new right now. Although I've got this. Where's my phone? In my pocket. I've got this classic coming. I'll show you what the body's looking like. It's a sort of classic S that's going to be really cool. Let me find pictures of the body here. There it is. That's the body. So it's candy apple red. You can see it's got a little. It's relic a little bit. It's got a little bit of arm wear, but I asked them to not go crazy on the arm wear, and it looks good to me. Just some, a little bit of aging on it and stuff. And as far as the neck goes, it's got the neck from my 80s Charvel Jackson bolt-on neck. I've talked about it before, but it's that neck. Digitized. I'm not putting that neck on it, but John got the white balance is going all crazy. Sorry. It's that neck that John digitized. And so it's that back, that 80s Charvel back and stuff like that. Instead of doing a straight 16, very flat radius on the fingerboard, we went with the Sur 10 to 14, which John kind of talked me into. And I thought that's a good idea. So it's not an exact duplicate in the neck because the radius is going to be a little bit more round. But I think overall, that's probably a good thing. And he used a really, really sweet piece of bird's eye and then roasted it. So this is what it's looking like right now. You can see it's like heavily bird's eye figure, and you see down there in the corner where it's a little bit darker right there. That's where John put a little stain on it, so I can see what it's going to look like once because it's not going to be that light. Once the stain goes on, it's going to get dark like that all over and really pop. And we're trying to figure out what to do with the shelf on the headstock there. Because originally what I was going to do was paint the headstock face body color, candy apple red. But John's like, you're going to cover up all that really nice figure. And I said, well, if I was going to go with a straight bird's eye kind of headstock and just do a finish on it, I probably wouldn't have done the shelf. And he suggested, why don't we leave the shelf, this thing down here? Why don't we leave that satin and then do gloss on the headstock? And then it'll kind of pop. It'll make the shelf look different, but without having to paint the headstock. Because he mentioned originally I was going to do candy apple, and then he mentioned that he doesn't like guitars with maple fingerboards and painted headstocks. He think it looks weird and not classic. Fender never did that, and he's right. It's a different thing with a rosewood board and a painted headstock because it was kind of a '60s thing when Fender used to do body color headstocks. And I realized, yeah, that's true. I never really liked the look of like a custom color Strat that had a maple fingerboard and a body color painted headstock. It looks a little, Ibanez does it, but that's a very different looking guitar anyway. Like when you think about the Gems or something, and they did it on like import Strats, like stuff that was coming in from Japan and stuff in the maybe 80s and 90s was the first time you saw that. And it does look kind of weird with the maple neck and then the painted headstock. I never liked it. I mean, even the EVH neck that he had on his Frankenstein guitar for a while that had the black headstock. Remember? That's the one that actually ended up on the guitar Dweezil has now. I've played that neck actually. It's the one that's on the Rasta guitar with the black headstock. And then he ended up, I think, painting the headstock the Rasta colors. And I'm geeky. So I actually got to play that neck. It was really cool. But just Dweezil showed me that guitar once. Anyways, that's what it's going to look like. And I'm going to do the gloss on the front of the headstock. The logo will be pearl. The shelf will be satin. And there's pearl dots on the guitar. And it should look really great once it's all stained and everything with that red body. I hope. I can't quite picture it right now what the whole thing's going to look like. It's going to be kind of flashy and cool, I would say. Murray Williams says, thanks for what you do. This is my must-see TV every week. Great show with Tim this week. Thanks. Oh, I didn't know the Tim video. See, I missed everything this week. So Tim put up the video, eh? I had no clue that was up yet. Let me take a look at that. I guess I shouldn't look right now, but I'm curious to see. I want to see the thumbnail and stuff. So I did a video with Tim Pierce where I went to his house and he asked me about learning material. And then we also shot it here at my studio, some of it. He was asking me about learning material and how I learn a bunch of material for touring and stuff. So check that out if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. And then we kind of did a little impromptu sort of PT demo as well. PT 15 demo, I plugged them in and stuff, and he checked it out and played through it. He sounded really great, as he always does. Oh, I see it. Okay, he called it 20 tips to get you gig ready. That's awesome. And it came out yesterday. Wow, it's got really good views. Terrific. Can't wait to hear it. 20 tips to get you. That's a lot. 20. Did I come up with 20 tips? It was nice to get together with him again and do something. Really great. I loved him. He's just the best. And Murray, thanks for doing the top chat there. I appreciate that, by the way. You're a good man. I'm glad you like doing this every week. I like doing it too. Super cool. Let's see. Some good comments. Yeah, it looks like the comments are pretty good. Awesome. Can't wait to watch the video. Check it out later. Somebody else is in the top chat there, and he says, Modern Vintage. He says, do you or Friedman notice any field or tonal difference between an aux and a Waza 2-amp emulator? Well, the loads are different. There's going to be a bit of a difference, yeah. Like even through the same IR, there's going to be a difference because the load does affect the sound. You know, whether you're loading with a real cabinet or whether you're using a load. I can tell you this, if you've got a load that accurately emulates down to the T, like a real cabinet, that's a certain, and by the way, this is a moving target because no two impedance curves are the same. If you change anything, it changes the impedance curve. So in other words, a greenback loaded 412 has a certain impedance curve. A V30 loaded 412 has a certain impedance curve. It's a slightly different curve. And if you take a greenback speaker and you put it in an open back 112, that has a certain impedance curve that looks much different than the 412 loaded one. So which impedance curve are you copying, right? So many devices on the market, I will say, just have a kind of reasonable facsimile of an impedance curve. And when you know how to scope this stuff out and look at the curve of the device, you see, oh, they're using this one, or oh, they're using that one. And you need special testing equipment to do that kind of stuff. But you can look at the curves if you know what you're doing. And many of them use a very similar kind of curve. And many of them use it's slightly less expensive and less parts and just gives you a reasonable kind of, like I say, facsimile of an impedance curve. And what that will look like, generally speaking, some of them only do, by the way, so with an impedance curve, if it's a resistive load is like a flat line. A curve that emulates, there's a real cabinet, looks like a flat line. In the high end, it rises up like this. And in the low end, it's got a peak and comes back down. So it looks kind of like peak here, and then this one goes up like this, and it's flat in the middle. That's why a resistive load, if it's just that flat line, it sounds very mid-rangey because you're not getting all that high rise and you're not getting that peak right here, that resonant peak. It's not EQ, but it kind of translates to sounding similar. So you get this bump here in the lows, that gives you some resonance and fatness, and then you get this high rise, and it sounds more mid-scooped when you're loading with a real cabinet, actually. It gives you this like kind of lows and highs sort of thing. Let's think about like the loudness button on a stereo, giving you that big sound as opposed to all mid-range. So when you look at some of these different devices, what they look like, and there's a lot of them out there on the market, is it's flat in the middle, and then they do a bump like this and a bump like this. These kind of big round bumps like this. And it's an impedance curve, but it doesn't actually look like what a speaker actually looks like. It sort of simulates there's a bump on one end and a bump, but it's a bigger bump on the low end. And the high rise just kind of continues out like this on a real impedance curve. This will go bump and then come back down like this. So a lot of the devices on the market look like that, with those two bumps in them. And it's a different sound, slightly different sound. You know, it's much closer to what a cabinet loads like than a flat nothing, but it's not exactly the same as that true impedance curve. To me, it sounds like there's a little bit more. Can be a little because the ones with the bumps, they've got more of a like in the lows, it's fatter bump. It's sort of a sharp thing, the way a real cabinet loads, and it's got this real resonant peak, and it's because the other one does this big bump here and then comes back down. It's got almost like a little bit more of a cloudy thing going on in the low end, the way that makes the amp actually respond. So anyways, this is the thing that Roland, when they did the TA 2-amp emulator, that with the switches, they're basically changing those curves a little bit on either end. Now, that's all. So, the way that the load makes the amp respond is kind of a big deal. Feel or tonal difference. Yes, there's a feel and tonal difference between just about every load on the market because of this. Keep in mind there would be a feel and tonal difference between loading with a different cabinet too. So once I realized this, like, oh God, there's more to it than just the speaker and the cabinet and the way they sound. There's the resulting impedance curve and how it makes your amp respond that also affects the sound. So there's a lot of factors with a cabinet that are actually changing the way that the amp responds. Yeah, long diatribe there. So somebody else is up in the top chat there. Modern vintage. Which unit do you prefer? Well, are they just different approaches to a cab, like the ever so annoying Kemper Fractal Helix versus two? I would say that, yeah, that's going to be my safe answer. That they're all different and they're all valid. It kind of depends on what you want. I think that the aux for me is really a nice unit. The load in it is really quite good, and the software and the way it kind of integrates with the iPad, and it's very elegant, and the effects sound amazing in it. The verb and the delay and the mod stuff. I used it all over Pete Thorn too. I used it a lot to actually finish my record, so it's one that I've used quite a bit. So I'm a fan of that device. I'll just say that. The attenuator in it wouldn't be, my favorite attenuator for live use is the Power Station, actually, the Fryette reamp reload with its tube power amp. And it's sort of very simple, elegant switches for, changing the reactive load. Because I think what's going on with the Fryette is that it's got to have a little bit of an impedance curve of its own with its built-in tube power amp. I think the tube power amp probably has it has to. So as flat as they tried to make it, that power amp to reamp, it's probably got a bit of its own thing going on. So that's why maybe when you use the Fryette as a load or when you use the Fryette as a reamp device, you're maybe getting kind of a double impedance curve effect sometimes. I'm only guessing, but this is something I've talked to people about. And I think that there's no way that the tube amp can't be having a bit of its own effect on the sound, which is part of why it feels really good, because you've still got a tube amp connected directly, the dampening and all that directly plugged into the speaker with the Power Station. So with the switches on it, it allows you to kind of turn essentially those switches on the front of a Power Station. There's two switches with settings that are labeled. The high rise one is labeled flat, edge, and bright. And the low one says flat, warm, and deep. And basically that, like, if you set it to warm instead of deep, you're that low peak, you're actually cutting that in half. And the high rise switch that's labeled edge and bright, if you move it from edge to bright, the way the high rise is going, you're actually turning it down to half. And if you go all the way down to flat, it's a resistive load at that point. Okay, so it allows you to just tune that impedance curve and kind of lessen the effect, tame the impedance curve, because I think their power amp is actually adding a bit of its own thing going on. I hope that made sense. So that's what's going on with that thing. I don't know, long-winded, but you got to just try them and see what works for you. It's largely, I would say, down to feature set. I think the Boss one, they made a little more for live use as well as recording. The aux is a bit more of a recording device, although it sounds like now with this new software, the way that they've updated it, they've added something with the foot switch and allows you to turn on and off some effects. So that's kind of cool for live use, right? So maybe they're trying to kind of add some things for live functionality. But I don't know. I got to try the thing and see what it's doing. I don't know why the white balance is getting all so crazy. I'm just going to turn up the lights in front of me a little bit, and hopefully that'll make it a little more less prone to changing, because it's annoying me looking at it. Oh God, it's like going green and okay. All right. Do I ever see myself getting more into production side of the music industry? I feel like I already have, man. That's from Christopher. Honestly, that's kind of going out and doing the SIR clinics and stuff. That's become a huge part of what I've done this back half of the year, and which I'm loving. I'm loving doing it. It's this amazing opportunity. It's you can't be everywhere at once, and it's taken away from me being on YouTube a little bit. So I'm worried about that, because I've got a lot of things that I've got to get done here. I mentioned last week about general anxiety of not completing enough work because there's only so many hours in the day, and I've got these clinic tours now, coupled with live dates and things that I'm going out and doing, and I'm backing up a bit on work, and I don't want to screw up my YouTube productivity. So I hope that it all pans out okay, and I can somehow balance all this stuff, but really that's a reflection of me doing more with with the amp and developing things and stuff, and I love it. I mean, it's something that I guess I've recognized that for me, I love it. You guys know I love it, like the gear and developing things and R&D and stuff. The reality is it's something that people still have to buy, which with music, as the music industry has gotten tougher and people have more trouble even just getting people to listen to their songs, let alone buy them, via CD or something that doesn't exist really that much anymore. Having said that, I can't believe a lot of people bought CDs on my clinic tour. I took more than I thought I needed, and I sold almost all of them. So I was really stoked that people still want the physical thing. That's really exciting to me. But with the gear, you're making something for people that they need. Guitars, amps, whatever it is, pickups, and you still have to pay for these things. They're not something that's out there in the digital world that's just this intellectual property that you kind of are having trouble controlling the distribution of. So there's long story short, just like the cold hard fact is there's an industry there that still exists. So there's jobs, there's customers, and then there's the folks that make it. So it only makes sense actually for if I can be involved in that, because it's something I love doing too. I love making an amp that people want to use. The reports I get back from people about PT15 and how they're using it and stuff like that in the context of practice, having fun at home, on the gig, like all kinds of stuff, and how it's like they're like, I can't thank you enough for this amp. It's like an amazing thing, and I'm having so much fun. And one guy said the other day, like, he said, I can't begin to explain how bleeping awesome this thing is, on the gear page. And then he said like that he was able to play, he got a little Yamaha mixer to use it with that has built-in effects. And he took the line out, speaker emulated out into the Yamaha mixer, added some stereo delay and plugged into his computer speakers. And he said, even on these crappy computer speakers, I just had the best time, like playing at home. My wife and daughter were home, no complaints about noise, which I guess maybe was a problem for him in the past. Turn that thing down or whatever. And he said, I just had the best time. I played for hours without anybody giving me a hassle, and it just sounded really good. So, Train Penny was saying, is that a custom shop Les Paul? I guess you meant in the picture. That's my Urin guitar. Corey Forgrave is up in the top chat, and he said, listening to your new album was blown away. Wow, thanks, man. It really lets your skills in songwriting shine. Thank you. Rosemary was a nice surprise among others. Thank you. That song I wrote when I was 20 or 21, and it sat around forever. It used to be something that I did with I was in like an acoustic duo with this singer-songwriter girl, and she wrote words to it and stuff and had a cool melody. And then I thought, I never did anything with it beyond that. That was back in the 90s. And so I thought, a friend of mine suggested putting an acoustic song on the album to kind of break up all the rock electric stuff. And I thought it was a great idea. And it turned out to be it really needs that. I felt like I really needed that, dynamic shift. So it was a really good suggestion. And so I put that little melody to it and stuff. And it went down really quick. I think I cut it all in a day or two. Just kind of tracked it with my friend Dennis, actually added the guy that suggested that I put the acoustic tune on the album. He actually put some little bit of Patty stuff on there as well. And I did a bunch of tracks, I think using the aux actually with, on electric, mostly like super affected back. It sounds like kind of some synthy pad stuff. And there is some keyboards in there blended in with that too. So that's how that one came about. But okay. I'm going to move down through the chat here and let's see. What do we got here? Questions? Any questions? Great to see you in Charlotte, said Bagel 232. Am I saying that right? 232. He says, great to see you in Charlotte this week. You mentioned using the Helix for bass. Yeah, I do that quite a bit. Which tones and patches do you like? And the Helix Stomp. Would you be packaging them for purchase? Excuse me. I no, but well, not at least not right away. I might come up with some patches. I'm not a huge fan of the stock cab sims in the Helix. They might work great for some people. It's just not my thing necessarily. But I'll tell you this: the bass ones I actually really like. So I've got this preset I'm going to tell you about now called Fat Dirty Bass, and you can just screenshot this because it really is very simple. It's an amp, and I'm just going to take a picture of the settings that I've got going here within Helix Edit, and then I'll pull it up to the screen, and you can, from there, take it and copy it or something. I think you'll be able to see pretty well what I've got going on here. It's the, oh, it didn't work very well. This is a pretty lo-fi way of doing this, but I'm there. I'm going to get the numbers. Let me just dial this in. So it's the Helix, which one? A Cali 400 channel 1 and the 215 Brute cab. And that is the only thing going on in this patch. I call this Fat Dirty Bass. And I think I used it recently on like the Collider video. If you want to take a shot of that, you can approximate my settings, I think. With the Cali 400, just move the sliders like, if you've got a Helix, and you can do this in a Stomp. And, did I hold that still enough? I think so. You can see I'm not doing anything radical. Just use those two things, the channel 1, bass 400, and the 215 Brute cab. And that's where I have the settings for the amp set. Okay. And then on the mic, what am I using for a mic on the cab? Let's see here. I'm using the 20 dynamic, so an RE20 style dynamic mic. That's really it. It's nothing else special going on. And that's all I've got in there. I have a distortion there in the preset if I want to add more distortion, but I don't generally use it. So the only thing on is that line 6 amp and cab. And I swear the bass 400 channel 1 and that 215 cab, and it just got a great, like, plug a P bass in or something, and you'll get a killer tone with that. Sounds really good. And you can do that on a Stomp, no problem with that. So don't need to buy it from me. I just showed you. It's very simple. Nothing else to it. Pete, sorry I haven't been around, says Brett. He's up in the top chat. Thanks, man, for doing that. As Leslie Nielsen says, good luck. We're all counting on you. Thanks, man. Good to see you here. Somebody else is up there in the top chat. Modern Vintage again. He says, are aux and TAE on the same level as an AXFX3 regarding closeness to the analog source, or are we still iterations away for amp boxes? I would argue that the AXFX3 is further away because you're using a modeling device for everything with an AXFX3. So everything's dependent on digital. Whereas with an aux and whatnot, it's you're using an actual tube amp. So I don't think an AXFX3 is closer to the sound of a tube amp than an aux with a real tube amp and a tube amp emulator from Roland. Now, which isn't a diss on the AXFX or anything. It's whatever sounds good to you. Whatever you plug into that you can get great results out of is all that really matters, I think, at the end of the day. It's all about, there's a lot more involved, I think, than just the overall tone. There's the workflow and how inspired you are to use the thing, by the workflow. So for some people, an AXFX it's all in the same box. It's all in there. It's like, this is very exciting. I can do everything in here and it's awesome and I don't need anything else. I'll never go back to tube amps, that kind of thing. You hear modeling people go that route. Like, this thing does it all. I've never been happier if it really jives with their thing. And other people are like, I don't want to get rid of my tube amp. I love tubes. I don't all that modeling, and it drives me crazy, like paging through menus, and I want the feel of the real, and all these things. So it's so much, so much involved in these decisions. It's tough. Yeah. I gotta put my glasses on. I'm trying to do this without them, but I don't know why I fight that battle. Schminker says, hey, Pete, me again. Do you think I could live with just a Kemper? See, it's another one of those questions. I either need to buy a bigger house or sell some gear. It depends, man. I don't know. I mean, some people, I can't answer these questions because some people buy them and then they get, you see the posts on the gear page from one way or the other. Oh, I got a Kemper and I couldn't be happier. Everything's amazing. It's the best piece of gear I've ever bought. Or I bought one of mine 5 years ago and I still love it. And it's the greatest thing ever. And then you'll see a thread run into that where some guy says, been using Kemper, thought I was happy, for years, but I always knew there was something missing. Just got a Hot Rod Deluxe and I'll never go back to modeling. So these are not questions you can answer because it's like there's no right answer. It's whatever jives for, it's impossible, right? So to know what kind of person you are, I always just recommend just be honest with yourself about what kind of like if you know what makes you happy, don't question it. Use your instincts, like in any situation. If you know that a few pedals on the floor and an amp is what you want, but should I do everything in a modeling box? Well, if you already know like what turns you on, like. And that simplicity, or maybe you're a direct into amp kind of person, you're asking yourself, should you go modeling? It's just kind of a weird thing to me. Like why, we can all, and I'm not saying I'm immune to it. We all go full circle sometimes, like, and go like, you get away from the thing you knew you were happy with just to try other things, just because you want to try other things. There's all these options. And then like you end up coming full circle back around. And I asked myself, I talk about that in my clinic, like with fret size or tremolos or things. I'm like, wow, I knew that what I liked in the 80s and what was a part of like what made me happy. Why don't I just continue on with that? I think about a guitar player like Brad Gillis. Guy's been playing that 62 red Strat with an original Floyd Rose with no fine tuners his entire career and a wireless built in. And I don't think he ever questioned it. He just got his job done, There's a beauty to that. Like knowing, I think Eddie Van Halen's kind of like that. He doesn't want to know like necessarily about other. He's like, why he's like, if you, I think he's the kind of guitar player where if you show him things, he'll be like, well, that's dumb. Cause like, why did you do that? And he knows what he likes is what I'm saying. He doesn't want to necessarily hear about, I don't think it's a bad thing. He doesn't want to hear about people necessarily about the latest and greatest and like why it's just like, he just wants to make music. And so there's something to be said for that, Bass players are great that way. They don't want to know about, like a lot of bass players I know don't know anything about their bass, or they just, I don't know, this is the amp I like, this is like whatever. I just want to play, They don't want to know about gear and pickups and things. They find the thing that feels like home and then they play. My buddy Dan Rothschild's had the same, I think I brought him up last week, but he's had the same bass since the 70s with the beer opener on it. The P bass, this is 71 or something, or 70 P bass. All the finish is gone. It's beat to shit, and that's Dan's bass. Bass players are good that way. Did you recommend amp sims plug-in or tube head right into PC with some IR? That's Train Penny. Do I recommend? I think amp sims plug-in or a tube head right into the PC with some IR. Both are cool. I mean, I have an amp plug-in. That's great. The PT100. I also have the PT15 tube amp that, if you ask me which one I'm going to use, if I have the choice, I'm going to give the edge to the tube amp because I can do everything that I can do in the plug-in almost, but it's a tube head and I can reach out and turn the knob on it and stuff and just get the, whereas in the plug-in, it's a digital simulation that's amazing. So if I'm in a hotel room, I got to go do a session. I got to go somewhere, the plug-in's incredible. There's no doubt about it. And I can get my job done. Optimum thing, if I can have my head, it's always, because it's real tubes and all that. So will in a track? I don't know, but it's gotten, there's no doubt about it that the plugins are great these days. I watched the Top Boost AC video when you were at TC that looked pretty explanatory. That's a good point. That's Schminker. We were talking earlier about amps in the Zone AC30 video, and they have a nice AC30 there. And I did kind of do a little bit of the AC. It was almost like an amps in the Zone video. I just kind of want to make one here in this room with this particular AC30 I have here that John Shanks lent me. Yeah. Okay, moving down kind of to the end of the chat here. Tom Harhai says he's now a bedroom player and recorder after years of music school and gigging. Sold his camper because he couldn't jive. See, he's even in a home situation, where he's mostly playing, but he says he's old and was raised with Blackface Fenders and Marshall metal panels. So that's the tone and I was too, that tone gets in your blood or something. It's in your sonic DNA. And it's Adam says he met Brad at Slim's in San Francisco. Love that club, by the way. I haven't thought about that place in a long time. I played there a bunch of times, but not for ages. And he was eyeing my wife. No, Mr. Brad. I know about Brad that he. I think Brad got on like his track. Like I've met him a couple times, and I've heard stories about him and stuff from people. It's not like a bad thing. I think he just lives that dream, and it's not really changed. That 80s kind of rock star mentality, that one guitar, the way he plays, whatever. He is Brad Gillis. And nothing's really changed since and that's cool. Whatever, it's like that's the he's that character, God bless Brad Gillis, as George Berry. But yeah, lock up your wife when you're around him or something. Don't bring her to the show. Maybe, I don't know, but you gotta love it in a way. It's very genuine, right? I mean, it's like it's not a character that he's a rock star guitar player from old school. Craig Flowers says he's just going to keep shouting Strymon Iridium until so you like it, I guess. I want to give it a try. I heard a couple demos of it, and I like the official one most on their site. The other ones I heard sounded a little more like, oh, that's a reasonable facsimile of that style of amp sound, so I'd have to try it myself, as per usual. I got to get it in my own hands and studio and plug it in and get some tones out of it and make some music. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. JD Analog says modeling nothing like real amp. The Axe Effects is fantastic, but standing in front of a 1959, SLP Plexi 100 or whatever with 8 412 speakers, and it's a done deal. Yet 98% of everyone hasn't tried that experience before. That's true, and it's hard to put that into because it's more than just the sound as it gets recorded after cabs and all that, isn't it? It's the way that the air moving and everything is a physical experience. That's like it's like the difference between jamming with a track through studio monitors and being on stage with a live band. It's like that different, like jamming along to a jam track or playing with a real drummer and bass player. That's kind of the difference between like, you know what I mean? Because jamming with a track with a cool sound, like if you recorded them both, it might sound the same. If a well-recorded band playing live or you jamming along to a pre-recorded track, and if you tracked your guitar part, with say a modeler, you tracked your guitar part in each instance, and then the listeners listening back, they might go, well, I can't really tell a difference in the sound. But the difference in your experience as you're playing it, which affects the way you play, is night and day, right? I think that's not a bad analogy I just came up with, because it really is that different. The volume and the power and the dynamic and everything of the amp. It's like driving a race car. It's like driving a simulator car, flying a plane simulator, or flying in a real plane or something, and then having to land it. I don't know. It's different. It's different. Like it's almost like with a plane. Obviously, the stakes are higher. But the stakes are higher with the amp too and the modeler, aren't they? It's like, the volume and feedback and everything, and controlling that sound is a part of it. And that's part of how the music got made back in the day. So it's just a different thing. Tom says loud amps make me smile and get giddy. Where's the Baltimore clinic? You missed it, good sir. I'm afraid. I had the flu and missed in stuff music. Yeah, I did the Baltimore clinic. And I'm going to forget the name of this nice fellow. Ryan Fowler's Guitar Experience. That's it, right? In Baltimore. Nice shop. Nice, smaller store, and it was packed out. We had a great time. and he was a really cool guy and nice people that work there, and it was a lot of fun. Really fun week actually. Out in Charlotte, and then which was also really fun. Baltimore, and then at In Stuff, which is an amazing shop as well. In Stuff has been there 51 years, um, and it's a family operation. They're really nice people, and it's not a massive store. It's big, but it's not like it's Guitar Center big or something. It's just packed with great gear and great drums, guitars, recording stuff, everything. It's really laid out nice. And now they've got a venue that they've just built next door. And I was actually the second person in there. They had Nita Strauss a couple months ago do a clinic, but it really wasn't quite finished then, the venue. And it was much more closer to being finished. Not quite still when I did it yesterday, but they got it ready enough to do the clinic in there. And it's really good sound. Nice QSC PA in there and monitors and stuff. It sounded great. And just a great, the fact they got this nice venue in there, it looks like a club. And they can put these things on and stuff, and concerts and things. And I think recitals for their students and all, because they have this teaching program there, and really great operation. And then later at the end of the clinic, Reb Beach came by, because that's his, and I always knew that was his local store. I don't know how I knew that, but In Stuff is he's a Pittsburgh area guy. And so we were, of course, talking about Reb, because he's like the hometown hero since the 80s. He was the one growing up there, bought his first guitar there, I think, and then took off and became, very famous and stuff in the 80s, and still shops there all the time and stuff like that. And then he walks in, he's like, "Hey man, what's going on? I just came to get a delay pedal." And he lives, 10 minutes down the road or something. And he said, "Oh, you want to go for a beer or something? Let's go get a." And I had to go to the airport, so I couldn't. So I was bummed. But he's going to be in LA, so it was nice to connect with him and maybe get to hang out. But he's just a local dude that goes in there, and he showed up in jeans and a baseball hat or whatever, and came in to buy a delay. So it's a really nice operation. I've been thinking this week about music stores, and I'm about to put up a video about the Fellowship of Acoustics, which is the store I did a clinic at in the Netherlands, because it's an amazing shop. I wish I got better video footage. It's a little shaky and stuff, but you'll get an idea what the store is like, I think, from the video. It's just in my typical fashion. It's not the best videography, but I'm going to put up the video anyway this week, I think, because it's almost done. And you'll get an impression of what this place is like. My goal is to sort of say, like, I love all the, and I'm a fan of, God, I bought something there this week, Sweetwater and Toman and all these companies are terrific. And their store is great, Sweetwater, if you can physically go there. And the Toman shop is great too if you can physically go there. But it's one store in the middle of the country, and it's like, obviously most people do the mail order thing, right? There's nothing still like going to a shop and being able to pick up a guitar and having that camaraderie of the nice salespeople that you get used to, and also seeing your friends there, like that. Even just seeing Reb there yesterday and the way he interacts with those, they've known him since they were kids. The sons that work in the store, and then the dad that owns the store. So. And I made a big point in the clinic to say, we got to support our local music shops and stuff, because it's really great to be able to go down and interact with folks and stuff. And obviously with a guitar, it's such a personal decision to be able to pick it up and play it before you plunk your money down for it. That experience should never go away, I don't think. So these nice, and as I guess it's like I've got nothing against Guitar Center, or I think Guitar Center built they did a nice renovation in Hollywood to their store. It's a nice store now. Nothing against, Sam Ash actually went to, and got something that was very useful that I needed on the tour. I forgot my isolation transformer, which I needed to break a ground loop when I do 4-cable with the Helix HX, blah, blah. But anyway, Sam Ash had a nice little Samson one in stock that I didn't even know that they make. There's a Samson ISO transformer, if anybody out there needs one, $39.95 at Sam Ash. One little, it's about half the price of the Palmer one. So I got that, and that was very helpful. So those stores, they serve a purpose. But by the same token, those are, of course, like this little Samson box, that's something you could order online and not, need to, unless you need it that day, which I did. So it was important they had it in stock. But, these are things, cables and accessories, and maybe certain recording gear, and maybe even amps and stuff, maybe pedals. These are great things to buy online, I guess. Guitars, it's like, I don't know, man. And amps to a degree, you want to go in and try the thing, and effects to a degree, you want to go in and try the thing. So that's all I'm saying is that, I don't think these nice boutique or more like, sort of custom shop music stores where it's like you can go in and try things like Andersons and Sirs and Tylers and even like nice Taylor guitars and things like that. You want to be able to, I can't imagine buying an acoustic without listening to it first, especially an acoustic, without playing it and listening to it. It would be a strange thing for me to buy mail order. So, oh boy, that's enough about that. What else we got here? Is John still taking orders for the Aura, says Teleman. The thing is, he's finishing them all himself, and it's taking a long time because he insists on doing them himself, which is great, I think, because you get a guitar that was finished by him, and it's not an inexpensive guitar, that's for sure, but it's a guitar that John Suhr absolutely signed off on, did all the frets and neck work and everything himself. He does all the final stuff himself. So you're getting a very special guitar. When you think about it, it's a master built instrument and it's priced accordingly. I don't think too much actually for that. When you look at what a Murphy age Les Paul costs, I don't think Murphy does the frets on him. He does the aging, and it's probably like a somewhat team built guitar I'm not sure about that, but you know what I'm saying? And John's actually doing like the way the thing plays and the overall final, making sure the thing is perfect before it goes out the door. He's doing all that stuff. So the guitar is price according. Anyway, is he still taking orders? Well, there was 100 sold originally to dealers, and I think they've shipped somewhere close to half, something like that at this point, and he's working as fast as he can to finish the rest of them. There might be dealers out there, is my point, that have one that isn't sold yet. So that would be the place to look, and it would be something that you could send an email probably to customer service cs@suhr.com and ask them, do you know of where any Auras are going, like what dealers are going to have one that I could hit up and ask if the guitar is sold or not, because a lot of them are sold. They'll go to the store, and eventually once they get there, somebody's already plunked down a deposit on it. But some of them probably aren't. So that would be a good question for if you have a local Suhr dealer, hit them up and ask them if they're waiting for one, or start looking around at some different ones and ask them if they've got one on order. Yeah. Okay. What's the MSRP on the Aura? And Chris Camp's at $79.95 and Gold Top $74.99. I think that's right. And Ian says, whew. And I agree, it's not inexpensive, that's for sure. But when I look at some master built, Les Pauls, certain runs of, age Les Pauls, and like 10 grand or 12 or something, or like I say, the Murphy ones, I've seen them for these prices. It's right on par or less than some of what I've seen with those. But it's John actually building it. Right? So, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can get a custom shop Les Paul if it's going to be $6 grand, right, for an R9, or you can get this, it's 6 for the basic one, okay, so apples to apples. But as soon as you add the, anything special about it, Rossington Les Paul or Jimmy Page number, whatever. Well, this is John Suhr built Aura, right? And it's $79.95. So it's a little bit more, right? But it's not like $15,000. Like I've seen some of these Les Pauls like for 10 to 15K, that are like this special run of 100 of, the Jimmy Page. Well, it's just an aged guitar that looks like Jimmy's. I don't know. Like I don't want to pay like $15,000 for that or something. I'm more interested in the guy building it. I've always said Gibson should hire Gil Yaron, or Bartlett. Get more guys like Tom, and have it's kind of like Fender with their, senior master builder. But we know these guys that know all about the Les Pauls and stuff. Like if you had a Yaron Les Paul, now you could charge what Gil does, I think, for his guitars. And, yeah, okay. Have a guitar that says Gibson on it. That's a Gil Yaron master built from beginning to end, and charge, $12,500 for it or something. I don't know, whatever you think it's, Greetings from Russia. Killer glasses, says Alexander. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. What else? I can't imagine needing anything better than a PT Signature Suhr guitar, says Lauren. Thanks, man. I love my guitar too. I do. I love it. Love it. In my opinion, says Mike, the Aura is well worth the price. It is John embodied. Would love to have one. And I don't think they're going to be John's 60. He's in his early 60s now. You're getting a guitar that when's John going to retire? Who knows? Hopefully never. But it's like it's an instrument that's going to enjoy. I think it's money in the bank is what I'm saying. Honestly, you can get a guitar these days. Custom shop Les Pauls are kind of there's some really nice ones out there. Not digging on them. They've done some great things in the past few years and stuff. But they're a dime a dozen, honestly. R9s and stuff. Auras, there's 100. And I think it's going to be money in the bank. I honestly do. So it's an investment and something that you can play. So that's my guess. If I'm wrong in 20 years, you can yell at me if we're all still around. But what time is it where I am? Says JD Analog. It's 12:22 p.m. Yeah. Schminker says, thanks for answering my questions. You bet. You bet. You bet. Have you ever played Thornbuckers on a Swamp Ash body guitar? Well, I have them. Yes, I have them in my Alt T, which is kind of a whole nother thing because it's also got a hollow element going on, but it sounds great in that guitar, as you would expect. Kind of that slightly scooped, but still humbucking. It's a great rhythm guitar, I think, my Alt T. It's got a nice airy tone to it that's really cool. Great, gutsy rhythm, kind of that early 70s kind of telly thing, I guess. Let's see, Ritu69OD, greetings from India. Do you compare the audio engine behind the HX effects and the M9? I think that the HX is a step up from the M9. I don't think it's the same processor or anything. The M9 was pretty good. I think the effects, some of them are probably just ported over. Some of the classic stuff I would think is probably ported over. But I don't think it's the same engine. Same audio engine. So I think that also there's new things in the HX effects, reverbs and stuff, all those Ganymede and those new, all the kind of more spacious sort of atmospheric kind of, there's different effects are included with the HX effects, mainly in the reverbs, I think. So no, I'd say they're not the same, and I'd say it's a step up. The M9 was a good box, though. I had pretty good luck with that. I used to use it. I was mainly with Melissa Etheridge. I think I had it on tour on my board, and I used it for tremolo and certain things. Okay. What else we got here? What have I missed? Has anybody tried the Aux V30 cabs yet? I guess I better download it and give it a go. Maybe I can use it for a demo or something. I've got to do a demo for a lot of demos to do, but I'll download the update and load it up and let you guys know what I think about it. I'm sure it's cool. I'm glad they finally did that. That's great. Kudos to UA because they really needed to do it for a long time. It's nice they did. Shannon Thomas made an interesting analogy. I consider tube versus modeling amps is like a wood-burning fireplace and a gas fireplace. They both give heat, but you get the total ambience of wooden logs burning. Tube amps, you get the total. I agree. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Can you recommend the Morgan AC20 head for home recording, says Aaron. Good sounding amp. I've never I know people that have them and used them and stuff, and I know what it sounds like. I don't think I've ever personally played that particular one, but seems like a great if you want that AC sound. It's going to be still loud, so I would say it depends on what you're using. Are you using it with a load box, or maybe you have a place you can bury a cabinet in a closet and put a mic on it. Ryan Fowlers does great repair work, says Tom. Cool. Good to know. It seemed like a good shop there, good operation. Okay. How was hanging with Red Beach? Great. He's a sweetheart of a dude. He's a great dude. Did I get to jam with him? No, but I took a funny photo with him. It's on my IG. Unfortunately, the camera was really weird that we took it on, so they didn't turn out very good, but we're like clowning around, me and Reb. Anyway, he's a great guy. Super nice. So hopefully get to hang with him when he's in LA. I got to get in touch with him. John's got his info, so I'm going to connect. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else we got here? Josh says he's on a huge Lukather kick. Have you ever tried the original Floyd Luke ones? No, what's that? Is that like a Ernie Ball guitar that was like the original model or something? I haven't. I'm wondering if that's what you mean or if it's like something else. Yeah. Okay. Moving down. Mark's here, I think, from Tone Talk. Looks like he's in the house somewhere here. Yeah, there he is. Nice to see you, my friend. SD Design is in the top chat. He says, Have you ever met LA Sound Design in Burbank? Their YouTube channel has amazing pedalboard tone demos. Just a few times. I know it's Dave, right? And I know him and been to his shop, and I believe his shop was in LA Vintage, where Cliff's store in Burbank, and I'm not sure if they're still in the same location or not. Like, because I know LA Vintage moved to a new building. It's a nice guitar store called LA Vintage Gear, Cliff Jones' place, and very nice guitar store. I'm not sure if LA Sound Design is still in the same building or not. I just don't know. Long story short, I've never had anything built by him or anything like that. Dave Friedman does all my work since the 90s, and we're really good friends and stuff. So I always go to Dave because we just have a long history and stuff, go way back. But I'm familiar with the LA Sound Design organization. Greetings from Munich, says Flavio. Could you talk a bit about your one pickup Partsocaster specs? I'll show it to you. I have it. Let's get it. Where is it? It's not here. One sec. I don't know where it is. I thought it was out there. Oh, there it is. I see it. Right here. Okay, so this guitar, I actually met the guy that built this a while ago because I bought it off eBay. And it was a dude that what I liked about it is it's basically like an EVH guitar. So if you look under here, I think it's KNE, maybe, the body. And it's a hard ash. So if you look at the wood, it's ash. Heavy. It's pretty heavy. And under the pickguard, it's got the EVH route with the weird, like, because he chiseled it out and all that. So they make the bodies like that. So it's an EVH body, dimensionally and all that, the same. The neck is maybe Musicraft, I think. He painted it to look like Blackie. And obviously with this tortoiseshell guard. And I saw it on eBay and I was like, oh, that guitar's cool, man. Like, that's just cool. 21 fret with the kind of like, the neck is that old, EVH style. It's a very comfortable neck. It's cool. It's a maple cap, bird's eye maple cap. And what else? I don't know. It's got a Motor City second degree black belt humbucker in it, which is what came in it. And I know Wade from Motor City from years ago. A great sounding pickup. Aggressive, kind of lower output, but aggressive. Maybe on the upper end of output for a PAF style, but it's real cool. And then it's got original Floyd from the 80s that the guy found somewhere. It's blocked down to the body, right? Original old Shaler tuners from the 80s. And it was around $1,000. And I was like, I couldn't not get it. It was just cool. And I had to get a bunch of work done on it actually when I got it because the nut was too high. So I had to get this shaved down a bit under there and get it so that it would play good and stuff. So now it plays quite good. Frets are a little small for me. I could do with like 6100s in it. So at some point, maybe I'll get it refretted. But it's a cool guitar. And I will say it doesn't sound like anything else. It's got a great tone that does the early Van Halen thing. It's got this aggressive snap to the top end. Bad Cat's in the top chat. Thank you, sir, for doing that. I appreciate that. So it's got this aggressive kind of snap to the top end that just really sounds great for that music. And that's it, pretty much. I don't know. It's maybe a 12 radius. It's not super flat, I don't think. Probably an overall 12. I don't think it's compound or anything. Not super curved either, but not like 16 or something. Yep. Probably it's the weight of it's probably 8.5 pounds, 9 pounds, maybe. Kind of heavy on the heavy end for a Strat style guitar. Have you ever tried the React IR rack? No, who makes that? What's the one that I've got now that I can't remember the name of? Oh, I don't remember. Should just open up Logic here and looked, but it's the new one that STL Tones, is that the company? And they've got this new IR loader. I'm just gonna find it here for you because this is the only other one that I've really used besides Mix IR2 from Red Wires. So STL Tones. I'm gonna find the name of this thing because this is a pretty cool IR loader. It's where is it? They make a lot of Kemper profiles and things like that, this company, but I thought I would try their IR loader because I saw a demo of it done by what is this? Close that. I saw a demo of it done by Ola, and it was really good. So I thought I would just check it out. Ignite Libra, that's what it's called. So I'll take a photo of this and then I'll show you guys if you haven't seen it. My low-tech way of showing you things that I find on the internet. Let's take a shot here. Okay. So this is the other one I've tried and the one I'm kind of recommending to people because it is pretty cool. That's the way the plugin looks when you pull it up, and you can see there's 8 different instances there of, see the 8 sets of knobs on either side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there's this graphic thing with like a ball in the middle and 8 different points. Basically, what the deal is you move that ball around in between and you're blending IRs, so you can load up to 8, and then you kind of just move it around, and it's very like, rather than using faders to blend IRs or something, this is very graphic and kind of, well, I want a bit more of this one, so you slide the ball that way, and it's kind of cool because it's like you're listening more. You're not so much just, you're moving it around and hearing an instant change in the sound by kind of shifting it around. Now, if you only put 2 IRs in the plugin, then it'll just have 2 points on that graph, and you can just pull between the 2 and kind of blend from one to the other. It's pretty cool. But React IR, who makes that? React IR. React IR real time. I don't know what this is. React IR 15. What the heck is this thing? Who makes this? Never heard of this, but oh no, this improves chemistry understanding. I think I found a different product here. React IR Impulse. React IR is okay. Dave Friedman just got one of these. I got to ask him what he thinks about it. It's a load box, right? React IR, reactive resonance load box. I haven't checked it out. From Ukraine, right? Saint Rock is the company. So I have to give it a try, but we'll see what Dave thinks about it before I comment. Okay, I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the chat, see what we got down here. YouTube is giving premium subscribers 4 super chats for free if anyone else wants to support Pete, says Modern Vintage up in the top chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Is the aux versus tube amp emulator debate answer simply both? Well, it's just like it's hard, man, because it's one of those Helix versus Axe effects questions. I think the aux is probably the better device in some ways for recording, and the tube amp emulator maybe has the built-in power amp. That's the reamp thing, works really well for live. So there's those things, but I'm sure there's plenty of people using the attenuator and the aux for live that are happy with it, and vice versa. Plenty of people recording with the tube amp emulator. So I will say just the way that, like right there, those two things. Generally speaking, an attenuator, a passive kind of attenuator, versus a good reload. I prefer the reload for live, but the aux has this beautiful software with the iPad and with the the way the software is kind of implemented and stuff, and the delays and the reverb sound incredible in it, and the room mics and stuff are amazing. So there's a few things that you know, you weigh out what's important to you and stuff, and these are all just options. So nobody's maybe put it all together in one thing, you know. Can you tell us about the Les Paul behind you? It's a Yaren, that guitar. I've had it since 2011 or 2013, I think. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I can't really talk about it too much on the internet, but it's a Yaren guitar. Yeah. Enjoyed your latest video with Tim Pierce. Thanks, says Motion. Yeah, I learned things every day, and I didn't know it was out yet. And so when I signed on here, people said like the video, and I was like, oh, it's out. I got to watch it. That's awesome. SD Design says Pete is very technical. I guess so. Not as technical as somebody like Kevin Sir. He loses me in about 10 seconds. I'm like, you had me. Yeah, you lost me. He gets into talking about the nitty gritty of what's actually going on because he's an electrical engineer. Have you played fanned frets? Z Boomer. Not that much. On electric guitar, never. I've picked up them and messed around a little bit, like Strandberg, I guess, and stuff. But the one guitar that I played that had fan frets that was really incredible was a baritone from God, what's it called? It's a baritone Benetto, I think was the company. And if you look for baritone acoustic and search my name, it'll pop up, and it's a video I did. Check out the sound of this thing. It sounds like a cannon. It's just this wonderful sound. It had fan frets, acoustic baritone guitar. If there was one guitar, God, I would love to have that thing in here. It sounds so good. I mean, and so the fan frets, of course, with if anybody's out there and they're wondering why the hell they put these fan frets on guitars, well, it lengthens the scale on the low strings. And that makes the low strings more taut, maybe respond a little more clear, tight, and that kind of thing. They have, for lack of a better term, maybe a bit more piano-like response, like hitting the low key on a piano. The longer scale you get, it's that steely dong without a lot of pitch variation. Whereas with a guitar, if you hit it hard and it's standard scale or whatever, it tends to go, it kind of sounds like that, right? Well, what I find is with the fan frets and stuff, it minimizes that effect. That can be a cool effect. So it depends if you want to lose that effect or not, right? Not saying one's better than the other, but for some people, maybe the fan fret thing and the extended scale works really good, you know? So anyway, particular guitar that I loved it on was the baritone because it had that amazing piano-like clarity on the low strings. It was just this huge sounding instrument. Really, really great. Let's see. How did you know that the neck was not twisted or something when you buy the guitar? Is that like when you're asking me about that guitar I bought off eBay? I don't. I just trusted. It was fine. I guess that could happen, definitely. You just never know, No, but the guitar was good. It wasn't set up great when I got it. It like I say, the nut was too high, so it didn't play very good. If you've got a nut that's too high, no matter what you do with the action at the bridge, it's always going to feel like it has high action, especially a little bit lower on the neck. It's like always going to be like, man, why is this guitar kind of not that comfortable to play? So I like a nut that's cut just perfect on any guitar. It's really like a little too high, and it freaks me out, And a lot of guitars have nuts that are too high. Mini Gibsons that come out of the U.S. factory, you're going to find it's like take it to a good tech and they can set it up to. If you've got a guitar and it seems like you never get the action quite right, check out the nut and look at the height of the strings above and a good tech can look at that and say, oh yeah, I can get this nut lower, and it really affects the feel of the guitar, especially with the 7th fret. To me, huge deal. Sloppy Fingers is in Canada, and he's in the top chat. He says, I need to quit playing my music store riff, have a drink on me. No way. It's so good. Because I love playing it and then trying to get that feedback at the beginning. Enjoy having coffee with you on Sundays, says the guy from Lausanne Clinic in Ottawa. I remember that story. That was another nice family operation up there, Lausanne in Ottawa. That was fun. Yeah. What else we got here? Let's go down towards the bottom and see what's happening. What's the best mini noise gate? George Berry's asking, Donner, just want to avoid tone suckage. Anybody got a suggestion for a great mini gate? I use a thing called well, it's a Moore pedal. I think it's labeled newer, but I bought it for $29 in Japan, around $29 used. And I put it in the loop that my Klon style drive, my Archer, is in on my pedal board. And it's only on in that loop then. And then I can gate, going into the amp, because it's a fair amount of hiss when you put a pedal like that into a already gainy sound. It was just a little much. So I put it after that drive pedal to kind of gate the hiss. And it works great in there. But yeah, I don't know exactly how transparent it is. I'm only using it on that one pedal, and that pedal's usually just pretty gainy, and it's like you're gainy. I usually find things like when you're talking about tone suck and stuff, the less gain you have, it's easier to hear, like if there's any kind of high-end loss going on or anything. I'm not worried about it. I mean, everything buffered and everything. But so that was a good cheap one. But I don't know if it's the be-all, end-all. I just bought it, put it on there, and I've used it ever since. I don't think about things as much as some people probably think I do. I just wanted less noise, so I bought the $29 gate because I saw it in Ochanomizu in Tokyo and threw it on my board. Doesn't plec do nuts too, not just bridge and truss rod height? No, I don't think a plec has anything to do with a nut. Pretty sure. Eddie's up in the top chat, and he says, just some Thorn brew funds. Thanks, man. Was that in Denmark? Is that the denomination there that you're buying me a beer? Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Love Denmark. That's where I think that's the DKK, isn't that? Denmark kroners. Something like that, right? Love Denmark. Love Denmark. I've been becoming internet friends with Tracy Guns from LA Guns fame. He's a super nice guy, and he's like, man, we got to get together and go out and have dinner or something in LA when I'm there. I said, sure, absolutely. But I guess he lives in Denmark part of the time. His wife's from Denmark, and so he's there. And I was saying, God, man, I love the food and stuff over there. And I got to go over there and do some videos with the TC and just the people and the food. Man, the food. Oh, God, the food is good in Denmark. It's outstanding. It's all about like wine pairings, and, it's really like gastronomy over there is fantastic. Mike is in the top chat. $6.66. Pure evil. Pure evil. Thank you, good sir. Do you use impedance curves in your IR loader? No, because I got an impedance curve built in on my amp, because the reactive load has one. So if you do use them in an IR loader, you're going to double impedance curve, kind of like I was talking about earlier. So, and you love your PT15. That's awesome. Thanks, man. Glad to hear that you're digging it. So the deal with impedance curves in IR loaders is that if you have a resistive load, like a hot plate or something, you can then load an IR that duplicates the impedance curve of a tube amp, supposedly. I don't know how close it gets. It's something I've never done. This is getting really geeky. Like if you use a true reactive load, or you use an IR impedance curve coupled with a speaker IR, how close is the sound? Can you duplicate the sound of or get close to the sound of a reactive load with a resistive load by adding an IR that has an impedance curve baked into it? Geeky. Super geeky. All right. Logger and Ale says True Tech. That's a good tune. I haven't thought about that one for a long time. Okay. What else we got here? Live feed keeps freezing up, says Harley. Just refresh, man. It's not on my end, I don't think. Guy wanted to trade me a Mesa Boogie single recto 50 head. Never tried one. Probably a pretty good sounding amp. I remember those ones, those 50 watt ones, being pretty raw and cool for that sound. It's a sound, Odin Stan says, hey Pete, which amp was the PT15 and which was the SL68? Should we do the reveal here on my live stream? Anybody want to know? Anybody watch the video? Open up another window and go listen to the video, and let's get some responses. And I'll do it. We'll talk about it for the last few minutes here on the chat. I've got another at least half an hour or something to go, I guess. But go ahead and open up a window and give me some more views. Let's watch the PT15 versus SL68. Can you tell which is which? Do you care? Does it matter? Take a listen, and you guys let me know which one you think is which in the comments. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Can I post the link? Maybe I can post the link in the chat. Let me see. PT15 versus SL68. Find the video. There it is. How many views has this video got now? Let's see. I said I would post it in a couple weeks or a week or something. I go, oh, it's up to 13,000 views. All right, that's enough. Let's do it here live on my live stream. I'm going to post the link and see if it. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to post links in my own chat. Maybe I am. We'll see. There we go. Posting it down at the bottom. Did it show up? Yeah, it showed up. So you guys can click on there and go watch the video and then let me know what you think. Who's your favorite female guitar player? My favorite female guitar player. I try and not think about it too much these days, like dividing up by, sex of the person playing the guitar. But some great female guitar players that I'm really think are fantastic and kind of busting open the world, because I have this feeling that you're like a girl that's maybe 10 years old and wants to pick up guitar or something like that is going to have like she could see me playing guitar on YouTube and go, that's great, it's another guy playing guitar or not or whatever. But then if she sees a woman, or maybe somebody's just a few years older than her doing it, maybe it's going to be more inspiring, because it's not something. This is weird because we don't have this thing with pianists or with violinists or things. There's plenty of women that play, and it's like it's not even something we think about. It's like, there's equal amounts, I think, especially in certain instruments of. But for some reason with drums and with guitar, it's been like more slow going as far as like women picking up the instruments that are largely male dominated, even though there's been like obviously Jennifer Batten and all kinds of. I think now with folks like Laurie Basilio, who's amazing, a good friend of mine, and Ariana Powell, who's a friend of mine, that I just watch what they do on the guitar, and I'm like, it's unbelievable. Laurie's phrasing and melodicism, and Ariana's technique and musicality as well, because she's got a deep jazz understanding that I don't even come close to. I watch her play and I'm like, the hell are you doing? Like, I can't even. With her technique too, because she's developed this crazy fingerstyle technique. And incidentally, in stuff where I was doing the clinic yesterday, that was her store growing up, or one of them there in the Pittsburgh area, and so she knows all those guys and went in there and bought an Eastman guitar, and growing up, and they told me that they'd be like, yes, what do you got going on this weekend? What are you doing? She'd be like, going home to practice. She's a really amazing guitar player. We did a tune together for the Sir Alexa chorus that's on my channel if you want to check it out. She's playing with Halsey now. She's taken off. She's got big gigs and off tour in the world. And SD Design says Chrissy Hind. I love Chrissy Hind, but oh yeah, and Lisa, she's another great player. Chris Cam says Lisa Lee's a good player. She's really great. She plays with Gwen Stefani now, and she's a terrific guitar player. She played with CeeLo too. Funny girl too, man. She's funny. God, she's crazy. And really, she loves food. She loves to eat. Lisa Lee. She's always posting pictures of food on her Instagram, but she's great for Gwen because she's super, jumps all over the stage and kind of crazy. You guys listening to the clip that I posted there? Flavio says number 1 is the PT15. David says number 2 is the PT15. Chris Cam says number 2 is the PT15. Bulldozer Guitar says number 1 is the SL68. Number 1 is the SL, says Glenn. Ian Ferguson says number 1 is the PT15 and number 7 is the SL68. Somebody's saying Melissa Etheridge. Melissa's a great Great guitar player, absolutely, and has her own thing going on. It. She just gave me this great shout out actually in an interview where she mentioned that I helped her, when she was starting to want to play more guitar solos, that I was showing her some stuff. I thought it was really nice of her, and gave my YouTube channel a shout out as well as my website and stuff. I thought that was really sweet. I miss playing with Melissa, and she's a lot of fun to play with, and I don't know, it's a nice vibe, like family. I miss her. Number one is the SL, says Timothy. Let's see. Joe Harvey wants to know, is Rock Discipline good? I love Rock Discipline. That's the Paul Gilbert videos, of course, which are a big part of me getting better as a picker, alternate picker. Robert says amp 2 is the SL. Eddie says number 1 is the SL. You guys are all over the map. Nobody's got a consensus. There's no consensus, that's for sure. Anybody else listening? Anybody else? A few more minutes. Let's do another 5 minutes, and then I'll give the reveal. Taylor Swift, most influential, says Dano. Taylor's huge, and she plays guitar, and it's like, nothing wrong with that, man. If she's getting people playing guitar, that's terrific, I think. Somebody's up in the top chat. Leon, Pete, do you notice a difference between 8 ohm and 16 ohm speakers? Looking at a 12 G12M 65 for a 60 watt 112. I would probably go 8 ohm just because it makes the cab more versatile. For example, on like a original Sir Badger 18, they don't have a 16 ohm out. It's just 4 and 8. So you're going to find if you get an 8 ohm for a 112, I think 8 ohm is a good thing. 16 ohm paints you into a corner a little bit more. That said, I like the classic 16 ohm 412s. I don't mind 8 ohm 412s too. In a 212 cabinet or a 112 cabinet where you might combine it with another cab or use it alone, use it with different amps, I think an 8 ohm, just go 8. Does it sound different? I don't know. Between two different, I don't think so. It's more like, does the amp sound different on the different taps? And depending on the negative feedback of the amp, where they take that, if the amp's got negative feedback, it can change if you use the different taps. It's so subjective and not something I can answer as being, there's not a right or wrong answer, but long story short, go 8 ohm for a 112 cab. I think it's going to work with more stuff. Trying to find a Voxy amp to pair with the PT15, says Chris Cam. Yeah, maybe a Morgan or something, one of those, like if you could get something that's AC20 or something, that might be cool. Favorite rock solo ever, says John. Geez, I don't know. The stuff that came to mind was like Comfortably Numb, maybe Another Brick in the Wall, or, I'm coming back to more melodic stuff all the time these days. Or, God, I could pick some Eddie Van Halen. It's tough to pick a favorite, that's for sure. Moving down to the bottom. Dave Friedman likes 16 ohm. He does, but I think that's largely because of the classic Marshall. He's really in his wheelhouse, right? 16 ohm 412s, Marshalls on the 16 ohm tap. Eddie used to use, evidently the 8 ohm tap and then go into the 16 ohm cab, which has a certain sound. It's a little less efficient, I think, and will break up a little sooner. I think, certainly my Bassman does that. It's a 4 ohm out, and if I use it on the 8 ohm tap, which I do often, which won't hurt it, it's just a one-way mismatch up. And it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't have as much headroom. Some people wonder how Eddie got a Marshall to drive. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe he was using 8 ohm tap into his, if he did use a load, which he did later on, it was a 30 ohm load, I think, or something like that, off the 8 ohm tap. So that would even lend more credence to that theory. I like a 16 ohm. I like a Marshall on the 16 ohm tap going into a Marshall 16 ohm cabinet. 412 Celestion 16 ohm. That sounds right to me. But I got nothing wrong with 8 ohms either, especially on modern amps and stuff. There's other amps out there besides Marshall, obviously. So, can I recommend a dealer in Houston to obtain your amp? I don't know about Houston. It's a good question. Austin Guitar House in Austin has them. I don't know about other Austin guitarists have sold like 10, I think, PT-15s. So you could always hit them up, and they're not too far away, and could get you one. I don't know about Houston. It's a good question. I'm not sure if there's a Sir dealer in Houston or not right now. Yeah. Let's see. I bought a 93 AC30 TBX, says Zachary, and never looked back. Sounds amazing. Those are great. Those early 90s AC30s, the Korg ones. Really good amps, really. My AC20 Deluxe died on me 5 times and killed 5 Celestial Echoes, says Zachary. Really? Wow, it's weird. Wonder how did it kill the speakers? That's crazy. If you want to skip to the A/B comparison, says Craig Flowers, of the PT versus SL68, start at 515, like the Who. Out of my brain on the 515. Somebody was asking on the gear page the other day, great bass guitar songs, and I couldn't think of anything. Like great bass solos within a hit song was the question. I couldn't think of anything better than the 515, where the whole song is like a bass solo just about. I can't think of a popular song that has more bass that's solo-ish than 515 by The Who. Go check it out. What do you think? I think it's so great. It's an epic bass playing. And I can remember almost all the riffs, It's like, even more than my generation, where it's just that one thing in the middle. 515 was like a bass tour de force within a song. How did you do that? It's great. And still maintain, I don't know, it's incredible. It's like the bass is call and answer with the lead vocal. Very unique. Almost like nothing else like it, in the rock idiom. Okay. Let's see. What do you guys think? Number 1 is the PT, says Adam Cave Project. What do you guys think? Let's see. I picked 1 as the SL68 and 7 as the PT, says Stealth Parrot. Amp 2, says Robert, is the SL. You would mean number 7, I think. You guys are all over it. You're all over the map. Timothy says 1 is the SL. Glenn says 1 is the SL. Chris Cam, 7 is the PT-15. Harley says 1 is the SL68. Cujo says 7 is the PT-15. Dope Smoker says 1 is the PT. Mike says 1 is the PT. It's about 50-50. They were both plugins, says Zachary. It's a hoax. Anybody else? Do me right, Pete. I have to be right over Chris Cam, says Adam. The point is, do they both sound good? Really, at the end of the day? At the end of the day, Jeff says, this is a great answer. Jeff says the one on 7 is the one that would make me want. Jazzy Parr says 1 is the PT-15. And 7 is the PT, says Matt. Maggie May had an incredible bass line. Does, doesn't it? But it's not as prominent as 515, where it's just lead bass. I hear more low end on 7, so I believe that's the PT-15, says Harley. Both plug-ins, says Mike. Both sounded great. Damn good, says Chris Cam. I agree, right? Oh, am I thinking of Real Me? Not 515, right? I said the wrong song, didn't I? Oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm thinking of the Real Me, and I said the 515. 515 has some great licks in it, too, but the Real Me was actually what I was thinking of. God, I'm getting old. What a bonehead I am. Sorry, SD Design. And thanks for correcting me. I'm thinking of Real Me. I got to go back on the gear page and amend I got to go back and say I'm stupid. This is what I meant now because I put a post up. How were you changing cabs yesterday through the PT-15 or the Helix? Clinic was amazing, says Fast Eddie. How was I changing cabs? Oh, you mean the IRs? That's Fast Eddie VH. They were all hosted in the PT-15. I didn't do any cabs in the Helix. No. Both amazing, says Odin Stan. He likes both amps, PT and the SL, whichever which is which. Timothy says, yeah, both sound great. Real Me, says Ian Ferguson. Yeah, I'm so stupid. the biggest Who fan too. I was just like, I don't know why I said that. Anyways, the best lead bass player was Gary from Uriah Heep, says Harley. Okay, shall we do the reveal? A couple more. Come on, a couple more people listen and give me the reveal. Which amp is which? Here, I'm going to post the link one more time. Listen at 5:15 on the link I just posted there in the chat. What do you guys think? 68 says Cyanide Junkie is number 7, more girth. So the second amp, Cyanide Junkie thinks. I think I'm going to cue that song up for when the stream ends. Yeah, listen to it. There's no other song, Real Me is what I meant. There's no other song with bass going on like that. That's Call Answer with the lead vocal. And, you know, it's just amazing. I think number 1, SL68, says Harley. Number 7, PT15. Okay, come on. PT15 is number 1, says Lee, contradicting what Harley just said. Number 7, Take My Money, said Jeff Taylor. Couple more. They both sound amazing. There's no way he'd make the PT15. There's no way he'd make the PT15 the first amp in the comparison because he's humble. That's funny. Best bass sound, probably Wish You Were Here. That is a good sound on bass, yeah. Pink Floyd always had great core tones, be it guitar, bass, whatever. PT15 is number 7, says Jim O'Brien. I think number 7 is the SL68, says Michael. Everybody contradicting themselves all over the map. PT15 is number 1, says Javier, excuse me. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, man. I mean to say number 7, not number 1. I think number 7 is the PT15. Drum roll. Let's finish it because I actually have to go soon, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to split a little bit early. All right, giving it away. Number 1 is the SL68. Number 7 is the PT15. Cheers. John just got it wrong. John L. Number 1 is the SL68. Number 7 is the PT15. If you listen really close, you might notice that number 7 has a little bit more saturation even at the similar gain setting. So the difference between a PT15 and an SL, no matter what, that you can't change kind of is that it's a gain. There's an extra gain stage with the PT15. It's like putting a gain stage in front of a plexi. So if you dial it for about the same gain, there's still a slightly different thing to the hiss and to the noise and to the overall thing that you just can't get away from. So I don't know if you go back and listen to it. The SL68, even though the gain feels and sounds similar, you'll notice number 1 is a little bit cleaner. Okay. If that makes sense, just a little bit, even at the same gain settings. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like if you take a plexi and a Friedman BE, amp, and you were to set them about the same, you could get the tones so close, but the one that's got the gain stage in front of a plexi style circuit is always going to have a slightly different thing going on. So that's but that's it. So number 7 is the PT15. And Scott F says, is 15 watts loud enough for your stage use? For most of the things I do, yes. If anybody else wants to chime in, some guys heard it yesterday. There's some folks that were at my clinics over the last week. They can chime in because I played the amp at pretty much full power in the clinic to show people how loud it is in the room. So other people might chime in and let them know if they think the amp was loud enough. I think it's plenty loud and punchy enough for most stages. Unless you're playing like ridiculous, like if you got a bass player with an SVT cranked and your drummer is a real basher and it's like crazy volume, it's probably going to have trouble keeping up in that environment. Any reasonable sounding cover thing or band where it's a little bit, you gotta have a reasonable stage volume that's balanced around the drums or whatever. That's not ballistically loud. I think you're fine with it. And that's, I've used it on multiple gigs. It's you can always plug it into the PA and get some back in a wedge, as well. And in the PA and in a wedge, and then with the on-stage cab, there's so many options these days, right? I just don't think the 100-watt thing is necessary for most folks these days. Okay, so for those that didn't hear, the number 1 is the SL68 in the video, and number 7 is the PT15. I'll go back and edit it and say I've revealed it. Maybe do a new post on the gear page or something. But long story short, I think the thing is they both sound great, and I could dial in the PT15. It sounds super close to that plexi tone. A lot of people said they actually preferred the number 7 because it felt like it'd be more fun to play, which is that gain stage in front of plexi thing. I think that people are hearing it's a little juicier. It's got a little. It's not quite as. It sounds a little less like it's a little more compressed, and it has a little bit more like you know what I mean? Like it sounds. A lot of people said it best when they say it sounds like the sound that I would enjoy playing the most, which tells me like it's a little easier to play. And I would agree with that because the plexi is a little more wide open and not a lot of not it compresses, but it's it's different. So yeah, woohoo! I got it right. Says Bulldozer Guitar. I thought I could hear something in the top end. Yeah, it's just a different in the power section. It's different, I mean, the whole amp is there's a lot of things that are different. A lot of things are the same, but a lot of things that are different. So never heard the PTA in person, but I play in a metal band and use my Mark V35 in 10-watt mode on the Dirt channel. Plenty loud. Yeah. I was banned from the gear page. Just Wake Music. The real answer is you don't need to buy an SL68 if you own a PT. You already have the tone. Close, super close. I mean, it's a very, you can get right there, I think. So thanks, Adam, for saying that. I appreciate it. So with that said about the PT15, would you say its native tonal footprint is? Well, I would say that, I mean, it's a different thing on channel 1 because it's got a nice, when you do 6v6s with a different front end, which is like the Bella on channel 1, it's got a great kind of American boutique thing going on channel 1 too. But as soon as you go to channel 2, it's Marshall all the way, honestly, like optimized Marshall. So, yeah. Also, I thought logically, as it is when the amp Pete switcher Pete would have the would have plugged in his SL68 first, and the most recent amp he bought would probably be the last to be plugged in. It's more like I thought people would get it because the SL68 is up on top of the rack there. So they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across my room like that. So I was wondering if this was too easy because of the line of the amps down. I thought, man, people are going to guess just based on how I've got my amps situated in here. But anyways, the Variac Eddie used was lowered to 90-something volts, which gave his amp a more distorted sound and looser feel. That's correct. As well as the fact that, like I was saying earlier, if you ran an 8-ohm load into a 16-ohm load, 8-ohm amp into a 16-ohm load or cabinet, it also affects that stuff. Everything affects everything. Do you use 15-inch speakers ever? Says Z Boomer. You know something interesting about that? The only time I've ever felt like, oh my God, there it is when it comes to Stevie Ray Vaughan tone is plugging into a real vibroverb. Early 60s, 63 or 64 vibroverb with a 63 Strat that was Lyle Workman's. It was all his stuff. I was like, there it is. Oh my God, that's the closest I've ever got to that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. And it sounds amazing. And because of that, one of those Cesar Diaz vibroverbs, the 115, I would love to have one of those. Like they made a reissue in the early 2000s, I think, of that amp, hand-wired vibroverb. And that's kind of a little bit of a cool, unique desert island amp that I would love to have because it just has that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. Pair that with if you have one of those vibroverbs paired with a super and use them both at the same time, I think you're going to be right there as long as you had a Strat and the ability to kind of play those licks. Obviously, Stevie had magic hands, but it just the 15-inch speaker has that incredible thing, and it sounds like that sound. So. But having said that, I don't own an amp with a 15 in it. I never have. PV made an amp called the Delta Blues that was basically a classic, like a PV Classic 410 or 212, I think, but it had a 115. And I always wondered, like that could be a good budget approximation of that tone, maybe, on the clean channel. Probably a pretty cool amp. But I don't know how good the speakers were. The PV speakers were kind of, everybody would always replace them. You missed my top chat, says Jason. Sorry, dude. Let me find you. I can go back and find it. There you are, dude. Thanks, man. What's your go-to reverb and delay settings on the Helix? Type and decay. That's Jason Tong in the top chat. I tend to use either the Elephant Man or the Vintage Digital I think it's called, for delay. So depending on whether I want to do the Elephant Man, it's supposed to be the Memory Man. Elephants have good memory, evidently. So I guess that's that connotation. The tape delay, the standard Echoplex one, whatever they call it, as well. I'll use that sometimes. So tape analog would be the Elephant Man, and then the vintage digital I use for digital delay. Reverb depends. Cave sometimes, or the some of those crazy, octave ones and stuff are fun for ambient stuff. Tile is nice if you just want a little bit of room sound. The tile reverb, you just mix it in at like 10% and just have a very short time, and then it gives you like a mono dry guitar sound, a little bit of space. So try that one. And then the standard 63 spring if I want to do a spring type thing. They're workable, good, not like Eventide level, I don't think, but they're good reverbs, decent. I can make them work. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I should have seen the logic of the amps, says Johns. Yeah, stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way across like that. I mean, why would you know that? I think I did describe it in maybe my studio tour video, how I had it laid out, but I thought maybe some more people might remember that stuff, but nobody actually said that. For a small mini amp, what would you recommend? Looking for something I can do a clean Fender type tone, cab IR, and reverb. Mini amp that does cab IR? I don't know. Not sure. I have to think about that. I mean, mini amp, I think like my little Black Star that I used to have that was this big, or my Nux, but that doesn't really do that. Mini amp, what would you recommend? Looking for something that can do clean Fender type tone, cab IR, and reverb. It almost sounds like maybe you want a deluxe reverb modeling amp. That new one that's got the IRs built in. Deluxe reverb tone something or other, whatever it's called. I picked one up the other day in the music store. It does way like nothing. It looks like a deluxe. Maybe just that. It's not super small, but it's like, I didn't try it, I haven't plugged it in, but maybe that sounds like what you're after. There's plenty of videos out there of those if you want to hear what it sounds like. Yeah. Okay. I got to split, you guys. It's 1:15. Tone Master. That's what it's called. That's right. So I'll put the, would you say the Collider would be the perfect effects loop pedal? That's Lauren. Really good, Lauren. It's, got it sitting right there. It's a great pedal. I guess there's no spillover. So that's one thing you might consider. It's a great sounding pedal, though. I love Source Audio. They do good stuff, and it does reverb and delay. So for one-stop shop, that's pretty high quality. Great in an effects loop, I would say. Hard to beat this for delay and verb. I just think that the no spillover thing could possibly. But if you're mainly leaving it on and stuff, maybe it's not a big deal, or maybe you don't care about that. What's my favorite reverb? Hard for me to. I love. Source Audio True Spring is probably the best sounding spring I've heard in a pedal in a long time, and this has it in it. So for a spring, they've got a pedal called a True Spring, or this has it in a great sounding spring. What else for reverb? My black hole setting in the H9 is for ambient stuff, as luxurious as I could ever possibly want to be. Sounds amazing. And I like some of the other reverbs as well. Generally, the Eventide reverbs are really good. The Strymon Flint, also really nice. All the settings, the spring, and it's a really good one. So the plate setting, and it's great. The spring is nice too, and then you got that great tremolo in there. The harmonic tremolo on the Flint is really nice. So that's a nice pedal for an effects loop of an amp as well, I think, or in front of a clean amp. So there's some good ones. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week. I think, pretty sure, if it's a different time, because I got to fly somewhere. I'm going to Asia soon, in clinics. So 24. I think I'm here next Sunday. I got to double check. It might be Monday that I leave or Sunday. I can't remember, but I'll probably be here. So Sunday's the night. Let me just look at the calendar really quick here. When am I leaving? Yeah, I'll be around next Sunday, 24th. Okay, so we'll see you here, same time, same place next week. Once again, right at the end, I'm saying it. Number 1 in the video was the SL68. Number 7 was the PT15. Go give it a listen, see if you can hear the differences. Now I'm going to post the update in the video and on the gear page. All right, y'all. Over and out. Have a great week. See ya.